Now, you're probably wondering, why is she showing us a clipping or a video on the scientific method? Well, in a minute, I'm about to show you how this relates to what we're about to do, okay? So, what I need you to do now, I need you to take your pencils out, put them on the table. So, we're going to break off into groups. I'm going to have a group, and Ms. Smith is going to have a group. And we're going to do the same thing, but for the sake of time, we have a story that we're going to read, and that group have a story that they're going to read. So the story that we're reading is called Nature All Around. And of course, the story that they're reading over here is called Looking for Answers. Looking for Answers. So, and I appreciate the way you all are not playing with your pencils and you're focused and you're ready to get your task started. Okay, so now we're going to do what's called a cold read. And a cold read is that I'm going to give you a few minutes to look at the story and read it by yourself. And then after we finish reading that story by yourself, then I'm going to facilitate my group, and Ms. Smith is going to facilitate her group, and we're going to talk about some key details in reference to those stories. And then you're going to be able to record and highlight. So, but the first thing I want you to do is you're going to underline some of the key details as you're reading. And the way I want you to do it is, if there are several paragraphs right here. So in this story, there is about 5 paragraphs in this story. So what I want you to do with your cold read, once you read a paragraph, and then I want you to stop and make some notes about it. Okay? You can highlight, you can underline it if you like, or you can write in here. This is your paper. This is for you. And then you're going to start and you're going to read the next paragraph. Okay? And then you're going to make some notes about it. Or you're going to underline some things. And the reason why I'm asking you to use your pencil is because it's okay to make an error. If we make an error, at least with a pencil, you can go back and you can erase that error you made. So then after we finish talking about it in our different little groups, then I'm sure you probably want to know, so how are we going to compare and contrast 2 different stories if I only have 1 story? In that group, there's only 1 story. Well, the way that's going to look is like this. Once we talk about it in our group, so we're going to have a team over here, and then that's going to be Ms. Smith's team. So now, the best team win the prize. Okay? So you got to really, really be focused on what you're doing. So, and after we read that story and we talk about it in our group, then we're going to share out. So what's going to happen is I'll read this entire story out loud. Then I'll ask Ms. Smith to read their story out loud so you can get an idea of what the stories are about. And then I want you to we'll choose someone to actually be a speaker. So you'll stand up for your group and with confidence and you'll say, okay, we read the story Nature All Around Us. And from this story, this is what we found. And that way, boys and girls, not only are you hearing the story of each other, but then you're communicating and you're talking about them. And then we're going to compare the 2. And we're going to use a thinking map in order to do that. Who can tell me what thinking map you think we're going to use to do what we're... A double bubble. You're so correct. Thank you. A double bubble. So we're going to use a double bubble thinking map to get our comparison. We're going to talk about what's different about the stories. We're going to talk about what's the same about the stories. And then we're going to talk about some similarities in reference to both of the stories. Okay, so enough of me talking. Let me tell you what we're about to do so that we can get some work done today before it's time for you all to go to lunch, okay? And then if we don't finish, don't worry. We'll pick up tomorrow and we'll keep working until we finally get to a final finished product, which will be to answer this question: in what ways do the authors, both of them, feel the same? And then you're going to also include your details from both passages in your answer. And hopefully, boys and girls, by the end, you'll come up with a completed product that answers this question. And remember, you have to answer all parts of the question. So now, one more thing before I take my group. I see you all nice poster here on race. So when you're formulating your story or answering your question, then I want you to pay attention to your race poster. Because I want you to be able to go back and ask yourself the question, did I talk about the ways that the authors, that both authors feel about the stories? Did I add details from both passages, or did I just add details from one? Okay? So I want you to go here, make sure you restate your question, make sure you answer all parts of the questions. Because boys and girls, you're not going to get an assessment where you're just talking about one part of something. You're going to have some multiple steps. It's almost like following a recipe. You go back and you say, okay, I'm making some pancakes today. And while I'm making those pancakes, these are the things that I need. This is what I need to include. This is the time I need to set it for. And I heard you all talking about seconds a minute ago and minutes. So when you're doing that, it's like following a recipe. Race is like following a recipe. You're going to make sure you include all the parts or all the steps. Okay? And then you're going to cite details and support from the source. What is your source? What is your source?
Energy. Be the sun.
That's a different type of source. Okay? But when we say here, cite details from your source that support the source.
Paragraph.
We're getting there.
The main idea.
Okay, you're going to be supporting that. But your source, boys and girls, is going to be this text that we're talking about. So you're going to make sure that you cite evidence from this, from your passages that you're reading. And then the last thing, and we probably won't do this part, but that's the extension part. I'm sure we won't get to that, but we'll still talk about that, okay? All right, so now, Ms. Smith, to get started, this is what we're going to do. We're going to ask everybody to, so since you have that already, just pass one around, get you one and pass it around for me, please. So everybody needs their story. Everybody grab a text. Everybody grab a text. Here. And this is yours. So, when I say start, we're going to all start to read by ourselves, silently, and then what are we going to do? What else are we doing with this passage? What else are we doing with the passage? Can anyone tell me? We're reading it, but what else are we doing? Oh, that's our I can statement.
Determine about the main idea.
Right, you're going to determine the main idea and you're going to write down some supporting details so you can remember. And you're going to take a paragraph at a time. Ready? Everybody understand the direction?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll take this group right here, and then Ms. Smith is going to take that group right there. And Ms. Smith got her so organized over there. I think she's trying to get points from us. So guess what we're going to do quietly? We're going to stand up so that we can kind of get closer to our group.